The Galactic Council chamber had witnessed the surrender of 17 species over the past millennium. Each had followed the same pattern: initial defiance, gradual understanding of their hopeless position, and finally, inevitable capitulation. Ambassador Zethkar of the Dominion expected nothing different from the strange bipedal creatures that called themselves humans. The chamber itself was a monument to cosmic authority: crystalline walls that stretched beyond sight, holographic displays showing the combined might of 12 allied civilizations, and at its center the judgment throne where countless species had knelt in submission. Today, it would claim another. Captain Sarah Chen stood alone before the assembled representatives, her small frame dwarfed by the towering alien forms surrounding her. No entourage, no advisors, no weapons, just a single human in a simple blue uniform bearing the insignia of Earth's United Nations. The council had expected a delegation. They received one woman with tired eyes and steady hands. Species designated human. Zethkar's voice boomed through the chamber's acoustic amplifiers. You stand accused of 17 violations of galactic law. Unauthorized expansion into restricted sectors, refusal to acknowledge territorial boundaries established by superior civilizations, and most gravely, interference with our rightful subjugation of primitive worlds. The holographic displays flickered to life, showing Earth's forces liberating the mining colonies of Kepler 442b, breaking the siege of the Proxima settlements, and most audaciously, evacuating the entire population of Tau Ceti before the Dominions' resource reclamation could begin. You are a young species, continued the Vorthak representative, its chitinous mandibles clicking rhythmically. Only 3 centuries since you achieved faster-than-light travel. You possess no unique technologies, no rare resources, no strategic advantages. You are by every measurable standard insignificant. Captain Chen listened without expression, her hands clasped behind her back. Around the chamber, the assembled species, some silicon-based, others energy beings, a few that defied easy classification, all watched with the same expectant patience. They had seen this before. The terms are simple, Zethkar announced. Complete integration into the Dominion structure. Your military forces will be dissolved. Your colonies will be administered by appointed governors. Your homeworld will provide specified quotas of resources and labor. In return, you will receive protection and the privilege of serving a greater purpose. The ethereal collective's representative, a being of pure thought housed in a crystalline matrix, projected its words directly into the chamber. This is not negotiation. This is mercy. Consider the fate of the Kaliran resistance or the scattered remnants of the Tethys Republic. Submit now, and your species will survive to serve. For the first time, Captain Chen moved. She took a single step forward, her boots echoing in the vast chamber. When she spoke, her voice was calm, clear, and carried easily to every corner of the space. No. The word hung in the air like a challenge thrown at the feet of gods. Zethkar's facial tendrils writhed in what might have been confusion. The Vorthak's mandibles stopped their rhythmic clicking. Even the ethereal collective's crystal housing dimmed momentarily. Perhaps, Zethkar said slowly, you do not understand the gravity of your situation. Our combined fleets number in the hundreds of thousands. Your entire species' military might barely reaches triple digits. We have weapons that can crack planets' technologies that predate your evolution by millions of years. No, Chen repeated, with exactly the same tone and inflection. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of alien voices, angry chittering, subsonic rumbles, harmonic frequencies that made the crystal walls vibrate. Through it all, Captain Chen stood, motionless, waiting. When silence finally returned, the Kaleth hierarch spoke for the first time, its voice like grinding stone. Explain this word, human. In our language, it translates as negative or refusal. But surely you cannot mean— I mean exactly what I said, Chen interrupted. No, we will not submit. No, we will not serve. No, we will not kneel before you or anyone else. The answer is no, and it will always be no. The ethereal collective pulsed with agitation. You choose extinction over service? Your entire species will be eliminated for the sake of pride? Chen's expression shifted then, and for the first time she smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. You keep talking about our military being outnumbered, our technology being inferior, our resources being limited. You're absolutely right about all of that. She gestured to the displays showing Earth's colonies, the rescue missions, the desperate last stands against overwhelming odds. What you don't understand is that we've been fighting impossible battles since before we left our homeworld. We've been saying no to bigger, stronger opponents for our entire history. The captain's voice grew stronger, carrying a weight that seemed to press against the chamber's walls. We said no to ice ages and plague and starvation. We said no to oceans and mountains and the vacuum of space itself. We've been saying no to extinction for 200,000 years, and we've gotten very, very good at it. Zethkar leaned forward on the judgment throne. Pretty words, human, but words cannot stop plasma cannons or singularity bombs. You're right, Chen agreed. But here's what you missed in all your intelligence gathering. While you were cataloging our ships and counting our weapons, you never asked the important question. Why does a species with triple-digit military assets keep winning against impossible odds? The chamber fell silent. It's because we're not just fighting for ourselves, Chen continued. Every human who straps on a uniform, every colonist who picks up a rifle, every civilian who refuses to run, they're all carrying the same message, not just for humanity, but for every species you've crushed, every world you've enslaved, every voice you've silenced. She turned slowly, addressing each section of the chamber in turn. The Kaliran didn't fail because they were weak. The Tethys Republic didn't fall because they lacked courage. They failed because they were alone. But we're not alone anymore. The holographic displays shifted and new images appeared, human ships bearing the insignias of a dozen different species, mixed crews working side by side, refugee populations, building new homes under Earth's protection. Every species you've integrated into your dominion has people who remember freedom, Chen said. Every world you've conquered has children who dream of independence. And now they know something they never knew before, that someone is willing to say no and mean it. The Vorthak representative's mandibles began clicking again, but faster now, more agitated. You cannot possibly believe that sentiment and defiance can overcome our technological superiority. No, Chen said, and now her smile turned genuinely warm. But I believe that sentiment and defiance can inspire technological innovation at a rate that terrifies you. I believe that people fighting for their freedom are worth 10 times their number in conscripts fighting for your quota system. And I believe that every day you spend trying to crush us is another day for the real resistance to grow. She paused, looking directly at Zethkar. Tell me, Dominion, in the 3 months since we started our little rebellion, how many of your integrated worlds have required additional security forces? How many loyal species have suddenly developed communication problems? How many of your governors have reported increased instances of equipment malfunction? The silence stretched. Longer this time. The thing about hope, Chen concluded, is that once it starts spreading, it becomes very difficult to contain. And every time you demand submission and hear no in response, hope spreads a little further. Zethkar rose from the judgment throne, its form towering over the human captain. Then you have chosen death. Not just for yourself, but for your entire species. The Dominion fleet will reduce your homeworld to ash, and your rebellion will end before it truly begins. Captain Chen straightened her uniform and checked her chronometer. The fleet you're talking about? She said conversationally. The one currently massing at the Kepler 438 staging area. The sudden tension in the chamber was palpable. See, while I was here listening to your very impressive speeches about submission and service, my people were doing what humans do best, finding a way to say no more effectively. Chen's smile widened. Right about now, your fleet is discovering that their navigation systems have some interesting new programming, courtesy of a few dozen integrated species who apparently aren't as loyal as you thought. Alarms began blaring throughout the chamber. Emergency communications flooded in from across Dominion space. Fleets stranded between stars. Supply lines mysteriously disrupted. entire sectors going dark as their communication networks crashed. "You see," Chen said, raising her voice slightly, to be heard over the chaos. "Humans have this saying, the only way to deal with an unfree world is to become so absolutely free that your very existence is an act of rebellion." She turned and began walking toward the chamber's exit, her footsteps echoing in the suddenly silent space. At the threshold, she paused and looked back. "The Galactic Council demanded humanity's submission," she said. Earth answered with just one word, "No," but that was just the beginning of the conversation. "Captain." Sarah Chen walked out of the chamber and into a galaxy that,